It's one of, if not the biggest problems in Austin, affordability. And part of the reason is there's not enough homes to go around, driving up the cost of rent, houses, and property appraisals. So when the state of Texas decided to sell these 75 acres in central Austin instead of turning it into a cemetery.
Here's downtown. The property is about 30 blocks north.
Developer ARG Bull Creek snatched it up. Their concept seemed simple enough.
Turn this open space in the heart of Austin into a major housing development filled with more than 1,400 homes, priced between $1.2 million and $180,000, plus apartments, business space, retail, and parks. But in a city known for keeping it weird, nothing is ever that simple.
And a year and a half later, the Grove development is still waiting for approval from the city council. So what's the issue? Well, there are several.
Let's start with the basics. Why does the developer need the city council's approval in the first place?
ARG Bull Creek wants to build the Grove as a planned unit development, or PUD. This way they can fit more houses and businesses onto the property.
And the developer says it will allow them to fit more affordable housing onto this site. To become a PUD, the development has to meet standards of a superior development. Citizen commission, city staff, neighbors, and the developer have gone round and round fighting about the amount of park space and affordable housing. But as of today, the development is considered superior. But there are a few more issues.
A major one is some people who live in the area aren't crazy about the plans. They're concerned about the size, density, and traffic. These neighbors make up the Bull Creek Road Coalition, a group co-founded by Leslie Poole, who is now a council member.
While the development isn't in Poole's district, it is literally right across the street.
Which brings up the issue of the upcoming November election. Poole is up for re-election, and her opponent, Natalie Gaulden, helped create the neighborhood group that supports the development. Councilmember Sherry Gallo, who represents the district the Grove is actually in, is also up for re-election.
And the Grove has become a political football amongst the candidates. Oh, and did we mention the traffic?
3 of the city's traffic engineers did a study on the project. Our news partners at The Statesman found out their names and some of their findings were removed from the final version of the study before it was turned over to council. It's estimated the traffic will double in some areas, leaving the stakeholders at odds over how it should be managed and who should pay for it. During its last meeting, the city council took the first of 3 votes to move forward with the project, but all of the details still have to be worked out. Ashley Goodo, KVUE News.
In the game of life,
we're on a different track than he is.
Every spin is a gamble.
Yeah, I'm taking a risk of $50K.
Joy and Fabio Torres thought they had real life figured out.
I thought that we had done everything right. I'd gone to college and got my master's, and we saved money. We had extra jobs.
Until it came time to buy a house in Austin.
Pricing is ridiculous, and you know, I work in the remodeling, and there was houses that were like gutted that they wanted $200,000 for.
It was either have a baby or buy a house.
Housing prices have risen faster here in Austin than anywhere else across the country in the last 10 years. Yet the defenders uncovered it's not just a problem of housing. It's the fact that salaries have not kept up with those rising costs.
Unfortunately, the wage gap has continued to not follow the way that the housing market and the prices.
Brandy Guthrie has been selling real estate in Austin for 12 years and serves as president of the Austin Board of Realtors. As a lifelong resident of this city, even she is feeling the shift.
So we do need to get proactive about wages and salaries if we want to continue to have the community that we have here in Austin.
The defenders looked at wages and home prices over the last 26 years. Family incomes rose 97%, but median home prices rose 404%, and the gap keeps widening.
It's a message to the businesses, it's a message to the residents, it's a message to all of the people. And the other thing that's happening is as the affordability crisis continues, people are having to move further out.
Which is exactly what lifelong Austin resident James Spires decided to do.
The taxes is the reason why we're moving.
He and his wife are selling their East Austin home and moving 56 miles further east to this property in Lee County.
For half of what we pay in here. We got like 7 acres.
The defenders discovered the 5 fastest selling zip codes in our area are now in the suburbs. Within Austin, these 5 zip codes have the fastest rising prices, and they're the areas once considered affordable, mostly in East and Southwest Austin. It's tough not to blame everything on the 160 people who move here every day. A recent study looked at where all of the people moving here are coming from, and it's primarily California.
Not everyone can live in Austin, and we know that, but I think some newcomers don't know that, and we cater to that, and we build for that, and we can't. It's not sustainable.
The things that make Austin unique, special, desirable are the things that triggered Red Wassenich to coin a phrase we've all come to know.
It was just a little joke to me, and that got traction.
Austin is like no other place.
Austin is weird when it comes to that because the people are so approachable, are so friendly, and that's really important to me, to be around people that want to get the best things out of life.
The live music capital of the world has been named the 2nd best place to live, behind only Denver, the #1 place for small businesses, and the #1 place in the country for entrepreneurs.
We're right where you want to be.
Sharice Bodish, a senior VP of economic development for the Austin Chamber of Commerce.
Generally, companies want to be here. They want to grow here. It's easy to attract people to live here because they all want to tap into that energy.
Even a city that's growing experiences change and loss. Austin had 17 businesses close or downsize last year, costing about 1,200 jobs, a lot less than most cities its size. And yet Austin has the 5th lowest unemployment numbers in the country.
The closings are small. Usually what happens is we see companies get acquired.
But it's the kinds of businesses we see closing that have people talking.
Very sad. It's like losing a family member.
Austin has lost 56 restaurants in the last year. Places like El Gallo.
It's just time to leave while we're on top.
Abel Kennedy Gonzalez decided to close his family's Mexican restaurant after 60 years in Austin. Property taxes didn't push him out, but it is a problem for a growing number of businesses.
It's harder and harder to open up that analog record store on South Congress or up by campus or downtown because of rent.
Home Slice has found a way to survive and thrive. It opened in Austin in 2001 at a time when layoffs were abundant.
That's the great thing about Austin. We are able, in this one moment, to have respect for the past of what came before us. Like pizza, it comes together in one piece that is then shared among all. Yeah, that's the Austin I moved to.
Today, the restaurant remains one of the most popular stops, visited by people searching for all that is still weird along quirky yet ever-evolving South Congress, which has seen some of the biggest changes in the past few years, losing its trailer park eatery to a boutique hotel and several longtime restaurants to new development.
The ultimate question, I think, or the question that was in the beginning is, well, is Austin still Austin? Has it lost that spark, that thing that makes it Austin? I'm going to say, if anything, it is stronger and more defined, because what I think it means is self-reliance. I think what it means is self-respect. I think what it means is a connection with community. And I think really what it means is just being kind.
So maybe we need to remember this.
If you're not growing, you're dying.
Call it growing pains. Austin Weird is now 17 years in the making.
There is weird stuff, it's just different than it used to be.
The weirdness is still there. Yes, it may be behind a giant skyscraper at this point, but it's still there, and it's our choice whether we decide to go and find it or to ignore it or write it off as the past.
Of all the places on the Texas-Mexico border where illegals cross, this checkpoint is the superhighway of human and drug smuggling in the state. This is the spot, the Falfurrias Border Patrol Station. And get this, it's 70 miles into Texas and away from the border. But it's here in Brooks County where more illegal immigrants have died than any other Texas county.
If Border Patrol is successful on one side, then they move to the other. And then Border Patrol will move over there. So it's a constant flux
Don White with the Brooks County Sheriff's Office is in charge of finding the bodies. Since 2009, authorities have discovered the remains of 525 immigrants. White believes there are thousands more they haven't found yet.
There's a missing persons conference in Houston every year, and Brooks County has more reports taken there than Houston or Harris.
In 2015, there were 26 reports of missing persons in one day, the most in a 24-hour period. The Border Patrol checkpoint in Brooks County is surrounded by miles and miles of open space, private ranch land. The very reason Brooks County is so popular with human and drug smugglers, where the chances of getting caught are slim.
Well, we got one track there. There's a second impression over there. There's another impression here.
White shows us footprints in the soft, sandy land. These are a couple of days old. Smugglers instruct immigrants where to go for rendezvous meetups.
They'll tell the people to cross so many high fences going north and so many low fences, and then at that point they're supposed to leave the woods and come out onto the highway for pickup at the rest area.
What they never tell them is how long and how hard the journey will be, that it can take days to cross. The higher numbers of bodies discovered coincide with the hottest months of the year.
If you're walking out in this, if you don't have a gallon a day, you're going to be stressed.
In 2012, the number of bodies discovered in Brooks County hit an all-time high, 129. So many illegals come through here that some ranchers install these ladders because they were tired of their fences being broken or bent. A couple of years ago, the South Texas Human Rights Project started installing water stations at the ranches, marked by a Red Cross white flag above. These big blue plastic barrels contain gallons of water, but that's not all. On the lid, GPS coordinates so crossers know where they are.
These are all border crossers.
Brooks County has so many unidentified bodies, they've called in Texas State University's Forensic Anthropology Department for help. At Texas State, the bodies are stored in a special lab. The smell gives it away.
They may be almost completely skeletonized, but they still have a little bit of soft tissue, not like fat and stuff that adheres.
Dr. Daniel Prescott is the director. He's in charge of identifying all the bodies. Not an easy task.
Most of the people that die crossing the border are very similar biological profiles, so they're all young.
That's why the personal effects discovered with the bodies are so important. They're stored in this freezer so they won't decay.
Any kind of food item, any kind of jewelry, any kind of clothing, that includes Cheeto bags, anything that they have with them. What a lot of times the families will recognize is that, oh yeah, he had those shoes and a brown shirt.
There is also a definite pattern of origin along the border. Authorities say the bodies discovered in Brooks County are mainly immigrants from South America, while immigrants from Mexico use the Arizona border. Students work up biological and cultural profiles and try to determine a country of origin, with the goal of giving closure to those families. So far, Dr. Prescott and his team have identified 20 out of 200 bodies. Meantime, White continues examining clues, searching for distressed immigrants, equipped with extra water and medical supplies, hoping to find them alive before it's too late.
And they get into those areas, and that's when it really beats them down, because you might be in the sun 3 or 4 hours between shade.
There are thousands of books in this library, but what you're about to hear today isn't here. This is something that has been passed down through generations. This is the tale of how the bluebonnet became the state flower of Texas.
The year is 1901. Legislature was in session, and choosing the state flower was on the agenda.
This was a topic that resonated with many people.
But our state was divided.
You've got West Texas behind the prickly pear cactus, you have Central Texas behind the bluebonnet, and you have East Texas following the cotton boll.
But when the bluebonnet was proposed, many of the senators didn't know what this wild blue flower even was. A cry from the chamber echoed, "What the devil is a bluebonnet?" No one had a clear answer, except for these women, the colonial dames of America in Texas.
They were watching this and thinking, you've got to be kidding. I mean, it can't be the prickly pear, it can't be the cotton boll.
So these women took action.
They decided to take matters into their own hands.
They called a local artist, Maude Walker, asking for one of her paintings of these bluebonnets.
They went over to her studio, picked it up, carried it off to the Capitol, and put it on display on the floor of the legislature.
But if that wasn't enough,
they had little jars of bluebonnets that they placed on each politician's desk.
After this bold move, it has been said the floor grew silent before thunderous applause filled the room.
The bluebonnet obviously carried the day.
What was once a heated debate became a clear conclusion. The Texas bluebonnet would be our state flower.
So that passion you see from Texans year after year regarding their bluebonnets, it has been there from the start. This flower has a folklore to it. It has a life of its own, one that will continue to live on in the heart of our state.
And hey, maybe this story will be there one day too.
Taxpayer money intended to help low-income drivers pass state inspections going elsewhere.
It's a big old question mark.
The agency in charge of the program unwilling to go on camera.
No, you're not going to speak to me.
A KVUE Defenders investigation inspecting the inspectors.
Tonight, the Defenders uncover millions of taxpayer dollars are not going to those who need them most.
The money is intended to help drivers who can't afford to pass state inspections. KVUE Defender Andy Parati tracks it down.
Like the lyrics in Prince's song suggest, Lee Clemens is about to lose it. After paying an auto mechanic hundreds of dollars, his service engine light just turned on.
It just won't go away.
Clemens says his Ford F-150 runs great, but each year he forks out hundreds of dollars for a mechanic to find a way to turn his engine light off so he can pass a state-mandated safety inspection, only to have it turn back on months later.
It's a spirit.
A ghost.
A ghost. Lurking around somewhere in the truck there.
To help drivers just like Clemens, the state created a program to help low-income drivers pay for expensive repairs that pass inspections. It's called LIRAP, or Low-Income Repair and Replacement Assistance Program. It's funded by emission test fees drivers pay during an inspection. Since 2012, it's collected $173 million, but the KVUE Defenders uncovered just 28% has actually gone to drivers in need.
It's a big old question mark. I think the first thing I asked you was, well, where's the rest of the money going to?
That's what we wanted to know, so we reached out to the agency in charge of the program, the Texas Commission on Environmental Quality. The state agency we found did not want to answer our questions on camera.
I was entertaining motion.
In April, the KVUE Defenders attended a TCEQ public meeting. When it was over, our investigative producer tried to talk to the commissioner.
Do you mind speaking with me about a TCEQ program that I've had an issue getting an interview with about?
Agency staff quickly stopped us.
No, you're not going to speak to me.
It's not good TV.
That's subjective. I'm sorry.
TCEQ then kicked us out of the building.
Seemed like it's something that there to help people. You'd be proud to be on camera.
To talk about it.
Talk about it.
TCEQ argues it gave us the opportunity to interview on the phone. In an email, staff addressed the funding this way. The Texas legislature has sole discretion to appropriate funds. In other words, money intended to help low-income drivers went back to the state's general fund.
And that is an incredible burden.
Texas State Senator Don Humphreys is a vocal opponent of state vehicle inspections. He believes our findings showed the program has no intention of helping drivers or keeping them safe on the road.
It's about keeping inspection stations in business, and it's about getting the state of Texas more revenue.
Could you benefit from that program? Could you have benefited?
Boy, as much money I've invested in this truck and that ghost and spirit, sure, definitely so.
So other than that engine light, everything's been great?
Been great.
Safe vehicle?
Safe vehicle.
A program intended to help low-income drivers. It's that darn ghost.
That ghost.
Haunting those who could use it the most. The legislature appropriated about $72 million to LILAP over the past 2 years. Advocates hope that means more money will go to drivers who actually need it. To find out whether you qualify, go to this story on KVUE.com. Our Inspecting the Inspectors investigation continues tonight at 10. We found dozens of states dismantling their inspection programs. So why does Texas keep its program? Hear from the unlikely lawmaker pushing to abolish inspections.
If this was about safety, I can assure you the federal government wouldn't have gotten rid of it in the 70s.
Inspecting the Inspectors tonight at 10.